third part, last part, final process. I've got a lot of things I want to change, take off. This is the 09 crank pulley from an Accord, my motor mounts, my belt tensioner because it's from the K series, the K20. I've got to take my thermostat out, my starter out, still got the flywheel, the clutch. There's a couple other parts, thermostat housings, I want to keep, or the radiator housing, I want to keep on there and everything for the heater lines, because I've got those all tapped and everything. I wish I could steal these cams, but I think they would notice. Other than that, I think the rest of it I'll leave alone. Water pump. So, oh, and my crank, my knock sensor, I want to take that. So, alright, stripping time. Got to lower the engine before I can take the motor mount off because I have it obviously chained up with that. Other than that, we've got everything off here, knock sensors and tensioners, brackets, alternators, starters.
Better keep this good frame oil filter.
Better keep this good frame oil filter that I put on there just to be cheap. So, flywheel's off, clutch is out, and now we just need to go get the other engine. Alright. So what we're looking at here is the new K24. Basically, I'm going to be stripping this completely down, getting it all down to nothing, and then I'm going to swap over all the parts from my RSX, whichever parts that I needed. Probably do like the thermostat housing. I'll have to, obviously the intake manifold, get rid of the exhaust manifold, change the brackets, change the crank pulley, a couple miscellaneous things. I'll also have to get rid of this, obviously it was an automatic, so I'm going to have to take that apart, going to have to install a pilot bushing, and then should be pretty close to getting ready to rock. So I'm going to go ahead and start tearing this beast down. Drain all the fluid. Alright, this one, I basically, before I get too far into cleaning this thing, I just want to make sure that, you know, everything looks good. So I'm actually just going to pull the valve cover off quick to see what, you know, some of the inside looks like. So let's take a look. Definitely, you know, 06 above. The valve springs are much greater in the diameter than the 05s were. Nothing looks crazy. Everything's looking pretty kosher. I'll do a valve adjustment before I put it back together. But I just want to see, make sure everything looked good. Alright, time to keep going. Alright, so I've got my engine. Looks like shit. Basically, we're in the middle of a really nasty storm where I live. It's been storming for the last 3 days. I guess the weather people said it's like the lowest barometric pressure that Wisconsin's ever had in its history. The winds are just hurricane level winds, and so I'm not going to be able to paint this thing like I originally kind of thought I would try on this engine. I've never painted an engine. But what I'm going to do is show you how I clean engines. I used to just use wire brushes and do a lot of scraping. As you can see, living up here, we get a lot of salt, grime. These things get nasty. But this takes forever. But I still use them for little parts. But what I use is just wire brushes and the air compressor. So I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning this thing, and guess you'll watch it get clean and pretty. Alright. Forgot. Safety glasses. These little fucking things fly everywhere. So for, as of right now, the engine's clean enough to my satisfactory. Once I get the engine back in the car, you know, I'll be my usual self and just clean the shit out of whatever I can. Basically, I cleaned whatever parts I know you're visually going to see, and then still cleaned off the gist of underneath. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the car, or the engine, prepped. There's a couple things I have to do, like these studs. I have to pull these out. My supercharger doesn't use those studs. I got bolts that go through there. So if you've never double studded, I figured I would show this real quick. But basically, what you do is you just take two nuts, and just the two nuts that you take off with the bolts, the studs, and I screwed one on backwards, and then I'm going to screw one on frontwards. And from there, then I'm just going to take my wrench here and a socket. I'm going to hold one down, and then I'm going to tighten this one. And then from there, now they're tight together. When you loosen the back nut, you'll pull the whole stud with it. And you'll want to do that for both sides. In this case, it's not coming off, of course, because I got the video on. I just got to go a little bit tighter. There it goes. Alright. So now the whole stud is screwing out. And then, of course, you're going to want to do that for the other side. For those of you that don't have one of these, this is a great little tool. This is the crank pulley bolt nut fucking thing, whatever you want to call it. But basically, since I changed a lot of crank pulleys to the superchargers and a lot of my friends, I often keep one around. Just place it inside your crank pulley like so. Grab your extension. And since I'm doing it on my own, I'll just use one foot. And now we can break this little sucker loose. Bam! Now I can change it with the other crank pulley. Here's what we call the Skeletor. I don't know who started that, but it's pretty fun. This is off of the 09 Honda Accord. This is the 07 K24. You can see it's quite a bit bigger, and then imagine on a K21 fits inside here, and a K28-2 fits inside there, and then a K20Z1 fits inside there. So going from like a Z1 to an 09 Accord crank pulley is a huge difference. But this is what I'm rocking. That's what I'm going to continue to rock. And I'm just going to put that back on there. Align that. Put this on kill mode. And crank that bitch down. And there you go. Got me a new crank pulley. Alright. I'm gonna keep going. Alright, like I said earlier, this is the flywheel off of an automatic. It bolts up to your torque converter and then to your auto tranny and everything. But obviously, I'm not rocking an automatic. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this flywheel off, and I can't attach the other one. I'm going to attach it once it's in the engine, but there's just, until I get it off the crate, there's not enough room. But this thing's so thin I can pull it out. Alright, let's get this thing out of here. Alright, so that, not needed. But, like I said earlier, this is important. This is the pilot bushing. This hole is bigger because the shaft for the transmission on an automatic is bigger. So what we need to do is just slide this in there. Like so. And a little here. Just gonna slightly tap it into place here. And there we go. Now that's going to fit our shaft for the old 506 or whatever year for a manual transmission. So pretty much now I'm set and ready to go. I'm going to be able to install this engine now. But I think I'm going to make this video just the way it is, and I'll make 4 parts. Because installing the engine is going to take a lot of time. Alright, so I guess that's it for part 3. Sorry guys, you'll have to stay tuned for part 4 when I slap this bitch in there. But I gotta go to work soon, so I'm gonna go change, shower, all that fun shit. And I'll see you for the 4th part.